We'll recite homage to Buddha Shakyamuni. Do so in a relaxed way. Chenmo Jiu Kalon Yubo Lona Mebo Hana Mena Dumbo Sangen Beje was a young Dubo Laza de Lo Chudu Galuze Dumbo Jumde de Shawa Rajum Yanga Bozo Sangen Yubo Laza de worship. Didn't Jembo Jew do a color, Gubo, Lana, Mepo, Adam, Benam, Jedumbo, Sanje, Jumden, Pejo, Shaja, Gubo, La Jade, Locho, Jozo, on the Kanye, Lo, Chetan, then, Sashin, Della, Gomba, the Moon. Mane, Jidin, Della, Choje, Son, Kepo, Jelo, Nanda go choto susang wa yu xie jia du se ge long bo. Kaba ji den song da la me mo, bo chu ni ge la jia das. Sen jo den bo chi me da wei jia, sen do tra wa ge la jia das. Ju zhe jun la si bo song ma ji, nya me ge yin ge la jia. Wong bo tu ji chen den ba, tam ji ken pe ten ba. Sona yunde gyazu je, tejin che la cha zu. Abe te ja che war gu, gewe nye zon le shaj. Tidu tendan chi gyuru ba, chi gyuru che la cha za. Chone chove la yang ten, la ba da la ra ten. Shinje damba yunde de, gindu la yang cha za. Tiba chi yang mi ja je, gewa pun zun tsokar. Rangi sene yonsundu tene sange temba yin karma rima redam yuma seba shuradan melan lodan tindamu duji shenandi dada sonandi tamshi seba yi goban done genge radante kadan nada shive lapshude sive tsole jovan jovara sho. To the founder, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the one gone beyond, the foe destroyer, the completely perfected, fully awakened being, perfect in knowledge and in good conduct, Sugata, knower of the world, supreme guide of human beings to be tamed, teacher of gods and human beings, to you, the completely and fully awakened one, the endowed transcendent destroyer, the glorious conqueror, the subduer from the Shakya clan, I prostrate, make offerings, and go for refuge. When the supreme among humans, you were born on this earth, you paced out 7 strides, then said, I am supreme in this world. To you who are wise, then I prostrate. With pure bodies, form supremely pure, wisdom oceans like a name the places in the 3 worlds, winner of the best, Lord, to you I prostrate. With the supreme signs, face like the spotless moon, color like gold, to you I prostrate. You are immaculate, 3 worlds are not. Incomparably wise one, to you I prostrate. The Savior having great compassion, the Founder having all understanding, the field of merit with qualities like a vast ocean, to you, the one God to thusness, I prostrate. The purity which makes one free from attachment, the virtue which frees one from the lower realms, the one path, the sublime pure reality, to that dharma which pacifies, I prostrate. Those who are liberated and who also show the path to liberation, the holy field qualified with realizations, who are devoted to the moral precepts. To you, the sublime community intending virtue, I prostrate. Do not commit any non-virtuous actions.
Perform only perfect virtuous actions. Subdue your mind thoroughly. This is the teaching of the Buddha. A star, a mirage, a flame of a lamp, an illusion, a drop of dew or a bubble, a dream, a flash of lightning, a cloud. See conditioned things as such. Through these merits may sentient beings attain the rank of all seeing, subdue the fall of faults, and be delivered from samsara's ocean, perturbed by waves of aging, sickness, and death. The Heart Sutra.
好好工作，松毛桥这么地，大给多个对劲呐，中等的也不高，加个公婆日老给老爷，印度全部当，常州三百印度全部当，他妈这都是的，在村的，上我那我西家为去年那张给定个这老牛或是多样的，在常州三八什么，爸爸这日子我就是那些包了都吃饱什么，吃饱你了，那么大心公婆我的大呀。大心也东北那么到，真的三给头才当真把这里扬州三八真公，爸爸这日子我就拉这个姐妹走，一起哭，刚了下了给包了都行个，什么吃饱吃饱都不得，记得老板的家，这个姐妹把咱扬州三八真公，爸爸这日子我就。在当真把下里当的不拉这个姐妹走，下里不日记不刚。这个是跑路都是跑什么？先跑得跑的，你打的number到我家的，我的大老杨，让自己东跑number杨大把这是到，苏东跑你苏苏，不是东跑你先满眼，东跑你来讲都先满眼喏，这些都错了，对些的，number 先跑那东跑，下里不的大就当这东跑你的心里面跑。马街跑，马岗跑，骑马没跑，骑马单车跑，骑马没跑，跟我没跑，我下里不能老问了，东半你了，苏没错了没，绿线没，南边西边没，北没，南没，北没，绿没，一没，苏没，下没，青没，肉没，里家没，水没多，没节看没把那一节看没，一节南边西边看见把都样没多。Mariba me, Mariba seba me, kaji sebe padu yame no, dongwa wana, kunjung wana, kopa wana, lame, yeshi me, toba me ma, toba yame to, sharibu, tatawa na, janju samba na, toba me be chir, chirabi baru, jimba la tejing, ne te siman, jiba me, jaba me te sinje lo le, shindu tene, yame, lebe tar, shindu, number shube, sange tamsi, Shirage Barudu Chimbala, Tenela Name Bayanda Barisu, Barudu Barisan, Jesu, Tedalana, Shirage Barudu Chimbenga, Riva Chimbenga, Lana Mebenga, Minyabada Nyambenga, Unga Tamjera, the Shivar Chibenga, Mizumana, Bashabar, Shirage Barudu Chimbenga, Mebataya, Gade, Gade, Barasanga de Bodhi, so.这不得到也不说得了，干嘛去说？那没不得是别的个不得上了这个小礼物像就申报节目得到写了节跑了都节目上网了那不得叫我。天天中的，天天现在现在讲究三八节目，花这人在往出了，来说谁叫我现在来说，这一步，得行动，得行动，记得给点把行动，记得给跑了都节目上网了，这把下去。这些下把南疆接着一让我中间的给这个的呢，咱两把下的咱六上讲就三八全部八现在是往出的，他这的两边口儿的大没的，阿妈应的，这是这边今天一让的中间的给送把了我们的。Page 11. Thus I have heard, once the Blessed One was dwelling in Rajgriha on Vulture's Peak, together with a great assembly of monks and bodhisattvas. At that time, the Blessed One was totally absorbed in the concentration that examines all phenomena, called profound illumination.
And at the same time, the noble level of Hideshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, was engaged in the profound practice of the wisdom Gambhira, analyzing the five aggregates by nature. Then, through the inspiration of the Buddha, the Venerable Shariputra spoke to the noble level of Hideshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, saying, how should those of good family learn who wish to follow the profound practice of the wisdom Gambhira? Thus he spoke in the noble Avalokiteshvara. The Bodhisattva Mahasattva replied to the Venerable Shariputra, saying, O Shariputra, whatever son or daughter of good family wishes to follow the profound practice of the wisdom Gambhira should look at it like this, analyzing the five aggregates by nature empty. Form is empty, emptiness is form. This is no other than form. Form is no other than emptiness. In the same way, feeling, recognition, cognitive formations, and consciousness are all empty. Therefore, Shariputra, all phenomena are empty without characteristic. They are unborn and unfleeting. They are neither impure nor free from impurity. They neither decrease nor increase. Therefore, Shariputra, in emptiness there is no form, no recognition, no current formations, no consciousness. There is no eye, no ear, no nose, no tongue, no body, no mind. There are no spheres of the eyes, up to no spheres of the mind. There are none of these all the way up to the sphere of mental consciousness. There is no ignorance, nor the destruction of ignorance. There are none of these all the way up to there is no old age and death, nor is there destruction of old age and death. Thus there is no suffering, no cause of suffering, no cessation of suffering, and no path. There is no wisdom, no attainment, and no non-attainment. Therefore, Shariputra, because there is no attainment, all bodhisattvas hold to the wisdom gone beyond. And because there is no obscurity of mind, they have no fear. Passing utterly beyond falsity, they reach beyond the bounds of sorrow. All the Buddhas who dwell in the three times, by relying on the wisdom gone beyond, fully and clearly awakened to unsurpassed, most perfect and complete enlightenment. Therefore, the mantra of the wisdom gone beyond, mantra of great insight, the unequaled and unsurpassed mantra, mantra that calms all suffering, should be known as the truth, for there is no deception. The mantra of the wisdom gone beyond is proclaimed. Tayata Gante Gante Paragate Parasamgate Bodhisattva. O Shariputra, this is how a Bodhisattva Mahasattva should learn the profound wisdom gone beyond. Then the Blessed One arose from that concentration and praised the noble Avalokiteshvara, the Bodhisattva Mahasattva, saying, very good, O son of good family. It is exactly like that. The profound wisdom gone beyond should be practiced exactly as you have said, and then the Tathagatas will rejoice. When the Blessed One had said this, the Venerable Shariputra, the noble Avalokiteshvara, the whole gathering, and the world with its gods, men, anti-gods, and spirits, their hearts full of joy, praise the words of the Blessed One. So ends the noble discourse on the essence of the wisdom gone beyond.
Oh, this is less than the Matats and the Lange, the Lass and the Chidola in the Matar, which is the Das. Sometime this is the word in the amount of time. In a song with Nen, that's Sanji go one of the Langard in the Lange bus. Oh, Changju to the process, you said, Ella Rani, and Ella Langard. But she was the Sanju Lange bus. All the train on the dust. Young chairs, and a lot of don't chairs and all but this.
It is now Sunday, and our Sunday lesson is in a great treatise on the stages of the path to enlightenment. It is, as it were, to say, I'm traveling to this distant place, and now I've got to begin my preparation for travel. The distance traveled is a distance from the hell realms to the state of Buddhahood, and there is a path between, and along the path one progresses in steps. The ultimate destination is Buddhahood. There is the traveler, one treading the path, and there are the stages of that path. And so whether we call this presently study or spiritual practice, we are here occupied with the great treatise.
So when they did that, we love you, but 아니 다 티버친 거죠. 인주자마 다만도 티버친 거 최스니디 아니 티처를 들어와라 도모 꿀lun 거 도네 최스 들어와. 최 티버친 뭐 이나양 티버친 뭐 잘 말해. 방사 티버친 뭐 차고 방사 티버친 뭐 승이 또 꿀lun 거 도네 티버친 뭐 차고 그래야 돼서
Then the great treatise on the stages of the path to enlightenment as a Mahayana text, in order for it to truly be that Mahayana text, has to be met with by the Mahayanist person. It is not sufficient for a text to be a Mahayana text. It must be animated by the person who is a Mahayanist, who animates it through their intention. The intention is what calls a thing the Dharma. And so it is, we must have a Mahayana intention.
예, 자, 이게 다른 나도 제 이거 최근에 꿀lun 가지고 보고 그랬으나 아니 꿀lun데 랑게 세디기 디기기 된다라 최근에 뭐 있나? 아니 최근에 뭐 고바 말했어. 직시. that's chima penjela rangi susu dewa tobe kindu chedi nyeba inayam chedi nyebe kuba mares nije tawana kare chigoresna ani that semje rangda hen tamje dewa hartu bo tutuyage ani changju sem yula kya chido la nge chedi nyegi insan kulung pinji ko areso.
As one listens to the Dharma, what is the proper intention? It is not the intention to, by means of listening to the Dharma, secure contentment in this present life. That is not it. So that's for one. Nor is it the purpose of the Dharma to secure contentment in future lives. This too is inadequate. What's required? The intention for both self and others, attain the ultimate state of awakening through the development of the mind of enlightenment. When this is the intention, this is the Dharmic Mahayana intention.
this is that chedi nyamnejini tweba tson gonsunggi nyamnejini kari ba inayam kulung pedeji seme tonan che shebul che nyambul.
As one practices studying, contemplating, and meditating, insofar as one is practicing, one is so when their intention conforms in this way.
세비 유도 시즌 넘버 망서 세로라도 세비 하자는 틀려 아니 말한도 자야게 최대는 하자는 남자 망고 왜뭐 망고 농업계 그게 연하야 장마투야 되게 시즌 남자 이거래 되게 시즌 최 남자 망고 지금 먼저 대표들도 장고도 아니 장마투 되게 마다운 거다 시즌 남자 망고 그 통이 되게
As one studies the Buddha Dharma, following the observation of Atisha Dipankara, who observed in this way that the human life is short, and there are innumerable objects of knowledge that one explores. All these dharmas, these objects of knowledge that one explores, are too many for 50 years or 60 years of study. And we endeavor to comprehend them in a short life, in a short time. Somehow it is the life is short, and what is to be known is very great.
대양도 라와이가 세 가지 수수를 라와이요 말 예바요 말 가지면 아니 신기 말 이제 신기 매바 일이 다 맞고 아니 직파게다 간다 세 제가 내가 지리 이게 지리는 세 개의 수수 제도에 라와는 수수를 말해서 어디서
then the life is short, and what is to be known and discovered is very great. And the measure of a life, whether it's 50 full years or 100 full years, perhaps we have this time, but we cannot be sure that we have this time. All that we know is that in whatever time we may have, a preparation must be undertaken, for there is no assurance that we live a certain length of time. We simply don't know.
대대를 세단 자체 튜브 대양 튜브 임바 대양 다음 책에 이거도 되고 이거 지기 있으면 책 송투에 이거면 이제 나 대대이나 안에 간데스 쳐버려서 저 숨바들이 와서 저 숨바들 이리 아니 랑이 되어 통 대소로다 나왜 출래 엄마네 맛이 상과 잘 따로 배다 나와 좀 취나도 엄마를 잖아 안 취도 어머니 커파가 세트 엄마 투네 투가 이제 그런 리바지에서 저다 대대이 인데게 내가 망신 전에 랑이 딱 그거 요즘 강은 되어봐대 아니 뭐 라투가 세 해지 뭐래서 어디 저지 손을
When life is short and the length of a life is uncertain, one cannot say, I'll do this and this and this time, where there's no certainty that that time will be adequate. Which leads us to the third point, the third question. What then should we do? And Atisha Dipamkara's response was, just as the swan is able to separate milk from water, so too should we, in the time that we have, distinguish what ought to be trained in now.
지금 일단 한게 몇번 올라와 차 쓰면서 그래요. 수족이 그러니까 강을 넣어 줘봐대. 강을 넣어 강을 넣어 줘봐대. 뭐는 넣고 고비하래. 대대체 마시나 맞아 미세기 단계 말에 아니 새랑어 나오지 아니 죄 맞춰 봤더니 아주 멜로디 쇼로 있나 아니 시라 방법 좋은 친구 대대지가 우리 강도 쉬 잘해서 뭐지
Atisha then advised one ought to train in and study what one is inclined to study. And then one will be able to study that by virtue of their inclination to study that. Life is not long and there is little independence. So use this life in this way. Otherwise, the life is lost and it is a shame and a terrible loss. So this is an observation of Dipamkara.
아마도 대퇴류 아니 텔라 남지 님에 대대지기 니주지 원에 나마도 취했으면 지투가 고비열에 당연히 계산들 하는 렌투가 고비열에 대대 이들서 뭐다 가르치고래 있는다 만나도 취냐면 지도 다단다 뭔가 가도 시에서다 제가 만나도 그래야 되나 만나도 이게 주되다 그 유기다 만나도 윤도가 만나도 제약이 되라네 유 예와다 디바세 유되다 예와다 디바세 제부들라 대화다 동의해서 다시 뭘 처리하고 냠내치에 시행을 해서
Life is short and the time of death is uncertain. This is the situation in which we find ourselves. Any advantage that we will find for ourselves, we must secure for ourselves. There is no other alternative. So then what ought we to do? Whatever it is that should be achieved, we should find its causes and understand its results. Ordinarily, we speak of causes. Causes are virtue and non-virtue. Their results are contentment and discontents. This we must understand.
근데 교육들은 대화, 대화, 산이 본인이 나는 같은 취해 살았어, 이니 살았어. 나 대화 주의나 대부 대화, 대부 주의나 대부 동해. 사실 주의야 말해서 말씀.
So then one is able to distinguish between virtue and non-virtue. This is understood, and so too should it be understood that what follows virtue as its result is contentment. What follows non-virtue as its result is discontents.
하여튼 그 게 랑가다 무슨 예차와 인도 다 나도 이만 수수기 다 최지단하나 성단단하나 한번 이만 찍을 세계 이만 찍나나 개와 가져체도 비과 가져체도 어떻게 이와 체네 아니지 다 최냐면 지난 생각 고기가 했습니다.
Then we found the street, we found the path then in each one of us as we go about contemplating in a day, ought to count out in a day our virtuous actions and our non-virtuous actions.
약간 이만 비 개와 망아체도는 지과 망아체도는 멘지과게 이 냐는데 체네 아니 나와 로 아니 개라스 대단하죠. 가르쳐도 대신에 수수보다 야가제도 누가 제도 세 들을 잡진 아니 누가 제도는 냠내지단식 야가제도는 냠내지단식 어디 나무도 셰가 냠내지단 나무 시한다 뭐 셰대야 두세 되는데 그래서 뭐
In this day, then, the virtues that occur, and in this day, the non-virtues that occur. When the virtues which occur outnumber the non-virtues, this is desirable. When they do not, and there are more non-virtues, this is undesirable. This same count goes on over a month, and then a year, and then through eons, as one distinguishes between a better course and a worse course, and one begins that evaluation in this present life. One can distinguish between better and worse, and does so here in this way.
근데 다 규기 전에 셰바이나 만원들로 탄다 대배 레디 하장 또 전부 계획거디 또 춘주요 네 가르치는 제발스나 만들 대배 레라 하장 마침부 요래 예외 레라 고바 춘주요 나 단단한 그 이거죠 예외 레드라 고바 침부스 대배 레드라 고바 춘주스 아니 봐면 쓴다 이 제야들 아니다
When we speak of causes, we recognize that preponderant are non-virtues as cause. Weaker is the impulse toward virtue. This impulse toward virtue is very weak in us, not very forceful in us, for we have become overly accustomed to non-virtuous impulses. The object now for us is a reversal or a revolution in which we grow our accustomedness, our familiarity with virtue, and reduce our familiarity and accustomedness with non-virtues.
다 최대 양수랑에다 돼야 대화 미돼야 동행성이 뭐시 두고요. 두야가 안 돼서 그래서 답다 싫어. 이 아니 원에 아니 대주고요. 그래서
Here then we have a rationale for our study and contemplation and meditation upon the Dharma. We have another rationale too. That is, we know in ourselves the desire that we have for contentment and our wish to avoid discontents. We recognize it in ourselves. When we have a desire for contentment and wish to avoid discontents, then we find how we may achieve just these ends, and they are achieved through method and through wisdom.
고에 가르스나 셰라티 담람도 추 니루 모네 셈게 라신 수수 미 마람도 미디 라신 가르세 미디 라신 셈게 또다 셈게 라신 셰야 다디 셈게 라신디 셰버 제발라 아니 거기 로바시 홀라 탑 홀라 그 초어도 탑 저기 아니 소나무 보고요 이거 답을 찾아 보고요. 제가 답시 이 매나 문제 같이 찾아야 돼요. 어떻게 되는지 해서
Why are both method and wisdom required? The actual nature of phenomenon, the actual nature of phenomena, the nature of mind. When we speak of a person's nature or character, there's a given character, given nature to a person. So there is nature of mind. We must familiarize ourselves and come to understand that. In order to do so, we find support, we find a basis for this in accumulation of merit and autonomy. That is method.
이다 답도 싫은 얘기 토네. 나는 냠수랑네. 안다 가르쳐 버렸어. 제 가르쳐 버려. 가르치도 그래. 저거들에서 다 제가 이다 제야들 이빠유 라게 이빠유 바디 템버이나자 마트버이나데 이빠디 샤 이빠디 샤 매워서 제 아니 다른 게 여사 이외에는 개어티 빼고서 마음다 또 지금 서로 야다디 제디 답시 이디 거는 지금 해서
One then has method and wisdom and employs them both in what sort of practice? In what sort of way then? And will one be able to employ them in this way? These questions follow. Where there have accrued non-virtues, whether one recalls them or not, they all must be purified and eliminated. So too, the accrual of virtue, the accumulation of virtue, it must be treated to increase it, to promote it, and to strengthen it.
저 거래 이거 샤오를 여와 빼버렸어. 오늘 이거 컨데스 샤오를 저한테 막 제가 마땅으로 이거 샤 컨데스 샤오를 해서 또 어디 선다 저나서 양아 등근안에 샤베 레오스다 샤베 레오스 빌레바디 디바디 마샤바이나 디베기 제우 둥이 되고요 말 되고면 디바디 메르소고 이거 메르 가리차르스나 샤바세니시 메르소고요 어디 심바고래서
Where there are negativities, they must be confessed and eliminated. Where there are virtues, they must be increased. So then when we find non-virtues, how is it that we confess to them and eliminate them? Through the 7-branch offering with its branch of confession. Where one doesn't confess and purify, the negativities remain, for they are not eliminated. As they remain, so too will their result fructify, come to pass. As we wish to avoid this, we would then naturally wish to remove the negativity, and so then we would confess to them.
아무도 지리다 직선 마이지고 동해유리 삼나 마이지고 르르나다유리 아니 베소소소 콘도상 아예체 아니 베 미주 땅탐레소라 디 개팽에 거마스 근데 동해디 여바이나 동해디 용들 매버듯이 아니 용 매버이나 동해디 가네 중앙이 봐 아니 중사기 유 이거지 샤샤나 아니 동해 거라 용 말에 수수수 마이지가 지고 말에 미주 땅과 말에 대구 지고 말고 디버기 유리 디버가 샤샤나 동해는 시기 매버 차를 해서
Ordinarily, we suffer an illness and become distraught. We're physically ill and we're perturbed. We weep, we become distraught, and none of these things are of any use. When we are ill, first to do is to recognize we wish to avoid such illness and pain. Then we would find where the illness and pain originates. What is its cause and its source? There will be a non-virtue at its cause as its source. Recognizing this, sadness, distress are unnecessary. Rather, one simply eliminates the source, the non-virtue.
이거 시아잖아. 이거 다도 이거 하나 동의 연구예요. 말로 근데 딱 지원 가래에서는 딱 이거 간데스 샤워에서 되냐 이거. 딱 이거 간데스 샤워에서 너무 당고 이거 디스 뭐 마시는 이거 샤워에서 가고요. 이거 뭐 치나? 이거 샤워 되어요. 그래서
So then the purpose of a confession, the confession is ultimately, the confession and the elimination of a non-virtue is for the purpose of eliminating the result. Where there is no cause, there will be no result. And when the result is discontent, we naturally wish to remove the cause. So then how do we remove the cause? How do we eliminate negativities? We simply cannot eliminate any negativity before we're able to identify the negativity. So we must grow able to identify what is non-virtuous.
이거들아. 뭐 켈렌의 게 이거 치즈 이거서 동안생과 동안지가 켈렌 받을 게 누가지지 알라신이 되봤어. 다시 하나마도 되봤어. 어디니 그래서
There are in non-virtue two forms. There is a transgression of a formal proscripted action. That is a transgression of a formal commitment. And there are misdeeds that are misdeeds by nature. There are these two.
동안이나 이거 켈렌의 게 이거 치즈 내는 치즈죠. 먼저 왜 다가 줄을 수 있는 다가나 지는 이거 샤스도 치즈지 군조 같은 치즈는 이거 샤스도 어떤 좀 남바이나 또들 점수 상황 뭐 숨겨요. 또들 동바이나 걔로 뒤에 좀 샤가지고 장주세는 동바이나 초비자와 세제도 샤가지고 아니 많이 동바들게 치즈 조 작거나 또지 로비를 통해 저 샤가지 어떤 남바이는 이제 좀 많이 숨지.
Where there is a transgression, all spiritual traditions recommend its mending or its repair. In any number of religions, one will enter a temple and make a confession, recall the misdeed, and confess to it. Among Buddhists, there are three forms of formal vow: the pratimoksha, the bodhisattva, and the mantrayana vows. The mending ceremony for a pratimoksha vow occurs before the abbot. The mending ceremony for the bodhisattva vows occurs before the 10 directions, Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. The mending ceremony of the secret mantrayana vows occurs before the feet of the preceptor.
맞아요. 라시기 디바 라시기 칸나 모델 디바이나 나 가리샤버레스. 근데 샤버스나 님고 또시고는 샤버레스. 님고 또시고는 마샤는 다기만. 님고 또시고는 샤바이 다기레스.
Misdeeds by nature are addressed and eliminated through the application of the four antidote powers. Without the application of four antidote powers, there is no elimination of the misdeed.
님고 또시 가능한 지가 뭐만 안 돼요. 님고 또시기 나네 대체쇼디 아니 맞아 그래서 빼다지 않은 시에만 두 콘도 숨가 답을 예습이 대체쇼래 아니 교수님들이 제일 가르쳐서 친중 미치에서는 동생 니네 봐도 참고를 아니 땡기 또다 니 먹고도 지금 또디 좋나 인가 시가 참 이거 그 하고서 이제 자원을 다 어디에 개발되네 이것도 없이 무거워서
In past weeks, we have described the four antidote powers. Among the four antidote powers, just as the example given of swallowing poison, which causes a person regret, remorse, in just the same case, among the four antidote powers, the antidote power of remorse is most important of all, as it is followed naturally by the antidote power of future restraint, these two being most critical. And then two, when they are complemented by the antidote power of support and the antidote power of application of antidote powers, and all four are present, then any negativity is thoroughly eliminated.
예, 이거 재단기 관에. 그런시 하나 말하는 이거 재단기 관에 근데 릭숨이 그래서. 그래서 나 당고되나 나 기바도 당이 제베게 이거 쓰세. 아니 시에는 제도 쪽에 이거 이제 아니 이거 제발 제수 이라고. 이거 재단기 이거 릭숨도 좀 그래서.
How do negativities, how do non-virtues occur? They occur in three ways: by one's own direct involvement in a non-virtue, by one ordering another to engage in a non-virtue, or by oneself rejoicing in another's non-virtue. These are three ways in which non-virtues occur.
이거 제 뒤기 전에 이거 제 심바 말 제선데 이거스. 안다 제 심에 이거 뭐는 제벌 교회 이거스 왔는데 그래서.
And there are two, in terms of time, three ways in which non-virtues occur. They have occurred in the past. For one, they are presently occurring in the present. For two, and they will occur in the future as the third.
예. 먼저 관례래서. 관례는 이거이 모션은 이거이 마샤서 샤샤나 가르치게 돼서. 딱 거기 제물이 동네 개버 해야 아니 이거 마샤나 링마 이만직 마샤나 사이다. 아니 나냐를 좀더 시다. 근데 이만 정하라. 이거직 링 수업 선지직 세베 이거직 이만 정하라 마샤와 샤와이나 아니 이만 정하게 제가 이거 가져 차그스나 가진 건 민다고나 이거 좀지 시동 가져 차기도 답답답답 시리즈 막 어디에 이거에 패고 그래서.
Where does that leave us presently, where we fail to identify non-virtues and fail to confess them and eliminate them? Then they remain. And how do they remain? They remain as cause for that which causes future suffering. And they remain as cause for future suffering, doubling, tripling, quadrupling with each passing day. For when one has killed a creature and hasn't eliminated this non-virtue then, and 15 days pass, it is, as I said, 34,000 times the negativity is awaiting a person.
세상도 이거 폐회 지식이 동네에 마음이 연구가 돼야 되고 주의로 와서.
And it is then the increase in the resulting pain multiplying. Its multiplication is, as it were, a law of nature. Then.
야, 딱 이제 세상에 이루서면 딱 이거 인고 또 쉬고는 이거 샤야 다 샤주들이야. 딱 그나마도 막这些 세상 더 차버려. 딱 도산에 그다 인고 또 쉬기 이거 마샤나. 어디 제부 용주거든. 이거 마샤가 생각 제부 용고에 주나? 아니 제부 용단데라. 남이 이게 제부 유튜브 제부 명예 제부 아니 단데 제부 신용도 거기 쉬사이 마스나.
Non-virtues then must be addressed by the application of the four antidote powers. How does one apply the antidote powers? This description of the proper application of the antidote powers is behind us now. I have given it. What remains here for a moment is to describe the four results that follow from any cause. The four results following from non-virtue as cause will be the fruitional or fully ripened result. The result conforming to the cause, the result conforming to the experience, and the personal result.
일단 뭐저시는 나 소체비게 니메기 남이기 제부 냐와다 게르. 제가 주득이 제부 세트만 세트인디 공부마상이 아니 배 수보를 배 내나서 뭐이가 어디도 이만큼 쉬사인 봐. 남이기 제부 냐와세 영화 지중이 제부디 라나 세트인디 내나서 뭐이가 되지. 나 제가 주득 아니 아주 없죠가 가오이요.甚至是看的谁了被钱拿没个mandar的都有嘛。 아니 이 제바지를 단대들라 아니 수술을 rumbo 나와면서 아니 사동 거고 모시자들 또 시대를 rumbo 이게 어디도 가가 또 주변나 이비지 되고서 어디 그 저시 신용을 내가 되거를 저시 이거를
아니 다운제들라 무게 요사 무게 중사
뭐 나와면서
라운에서
뭐 사육고가 또가 비치서 어디를 가거든
identifying these and understanding four results which result from every cause may be done with the example of taking life. Taking life will result in its fully ripened result as rebirth in the lower realms. This is the fully ripened result of taking life. Taking life will result in the result that conforms with the cause as a life that is short, with disability in an unfavorable circumstance. This is the second result. The third, that is the result conforming with the cause in experience, is in the case of taking life, to be reborn with a desire, a relish for taking life, continuing to take life, no fear, but an eagerness to continue to take life. And the personal result, the fourth result, is to be reborn in the case of taking life, is to be reborn in a place with no freedoms, with hardship, with scarcity. So for every cause, there will be four results resulting in this way. As we speak of causes, we speak of the cause of any non-virtue, mental afflictions, the klesha, particularly avidya, ignorance. Self-grasping is avidya, ignorance. Self-grasping is the very mother of all klesha. From it follow desirous attachment and aversion, anger, jealousy, and the rest. Non-virtues occur through the three doors of action: body, speech, and mind. Non-virtuous action that is physical is murder, stealing, sexual misconduct. Non-virtue that is verbal is lying, slander, rough speech, and gossip. Non-virtue that is mental is covetousness, maliciousness, and wrong view. These are 10 non-virtues. What have we covered then? An introduction to non-virtues, for identifying non-virtues, and the urgency of confession. When engaging in confession, there is a method, a strategy to it. The method is derived from the sutra, in which, in confession, one is encouraged to confess reciting the names of the 35 Tathagatas as one application of the antidote, and another to meditate upon emptiness, to make offerings to the Buddhas, to erect representations of the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. These are examples of application of the antidotes.
어떻게 다니 목은 주도 다 되서 다이네 하나는 저 람림 얘기가 있는데 람림 이 송바고 아니 제름 권한이 이거 시작이 탑조 가리나를 해서는 아니 대신시고 숨주 수영하기 생기 저는 누가지 차체 아니 이거 시작을 냠내나를 해서
The application of the antidote powers is the very method for the confession of negativities. The author of the great treatise on the stages of the path to enlightenment, Tsongkhapa, engaged in his own method for confession and elimination of non-virtues. And this was especially the recitation of the names of the 35 Tathagatas. This was a practice of confession that was physical and verbal.
뭐였다 니는 뭔가 동샤기 냠맹이 거는 인부도 없이 상하시네 이거 찾아 다 하시네 그런다 세딜라 아니 돈이 무슨 또 안에 아니 산디지 고만 거기 남다 시제가 했습니다.
Using this method in the practice of the application of the four antidote powers, in this method for confession, the four antidote powers were all present and satisfied, which allowed for the thorough elimination of all non-virtues. And this was what allowed Tsongkhapa to, in this very life of his, achieve direct realization of emptiness and achieve the state of Buddhahood.
뭐였다 이제 동자 보냐니까 이것도 지상다 가든 망차 가든 부자 보면은 또 살다 어디 살다는 차세 변시도 이런 시에 저는 비리 다 동자 아니 다 동자 전환되어야 라마스도 미저 때때 이거 해서 제로 무생이 동자들아 인지비 비행시가 산재에 sen chedo chen 아니 도신도 대나네 아니 코로나 산재 수주선의 시에서 그러고 아니 딜라테네 베다 치라고 되셔도라양 아니 산재 체도 체도 대지시 보다도 야가 또 산재 체도진에 된 거야지 아니 코로나 좀 많이 생각이 해서
These details of confession we dealt with already in the past in the description of the benefits of prostration that went along with the observation of the holy month of Stagadawa. Each lineage with its particular spiritual teacher has a unique presentation of confession. In the case of Tsongkhapa, the recommendation of his was to recite the names of the 35 Tathagatas as the practice of the recitation of the three heaps sutra, but the particular addition of Tsongkhapa was to add to the recitation of the names of the Tathagata in homage to the Buddha, Bhagavan, the Arhat, the completely and perfectly enlightened Buddha. Each time, with each recitation of the name of the Tathagata, this homage was attached to.
하여튼 지난 몸만 이렇게 야시에 했다. 가서 이거 샤베 우리 원신은 더 살거든요. 된다니 있다. 나 전다도 대과 예나 샤워 마샤나 이거 폐기를 소주 직주의 이거기 살게 이제 동다 몸이 되게 이거 내가 저거 용어가 무슨나 아니 소수 용치 뭐라. 그러니까 근데 이제 동의 메디어 바는 나가면 찍고 심지 이거 근데 이나에 동의 여기요 말. 네 동의 메디어는 이거 샤워 이거 당분은 싸기요 말. 싸서는 샤워 마샤나 이거 저거 동의래. 그래서 이 교체 수가 땅두고 말했어. 그 동의 메디어 바는 가르쳐 보시면 동의 메디어 이거 샤워 이마다 같이 말했어. Chenmo the question Yamadi, Chenmo Kazu Imedi, Taman domain do some of the Yamusa, Yamnichi was his, and the West of the shot, and to anybody else. That pure the courage was that to a million. That's your.
The foregoing has been a review, as we have described and dealt with confession over several weeks already. So this has been a review. In short, where non-virtues have been accumulated, they must be confessed. If they are not, then, for instance, where murder has occurred, that which would result from murder continues to multiply insofar as it is not confessed to and eliminated. And when the consequences of murder multiply 100,000 times over, this is for a person a huge failure and a great shame that they did not address it more readily. It is the same among all sentient life, the desire for contentment. When it is everywhere the same, then any individual should confess to and eliminate the non-virtue that will cause them discontent, as they wish to avoid discontents. Any measure of the importance of confession may be gained simply by an acknowledgement of our own wish to avoid sorrows and pains. Insofar as we wish to avoid sorrow and pain, confession and elimination of virtue becomes an urgent matter. Which leads us to the second question, where virtues have accrued, what is to be done?
Oh, yeah, that give the courage away, give this away, give us a double this away. All the things what is yours, and that thing, and any Yama doing on this one, just Irama, just Iran Yama, what the big, just Iran Yalati, and it like give us up, give us son, and this, like give the pair with double and this Yahweh, all the baby yours.
Where virtues have been accumulated. How were they accumulated? Now that they are accumulated, how do we protect them? This is the question, these are the questions that follow. Their answer is found in the 7-branch offering. In the 7-branch offering, there is the branch of rejoicing, rejoicing's branch. In the 7 branches, where virtues have accumulated, we must increase them and strengthen them, and we must protect them.
Oh, yeah, see the and you people most one, Yawa and most of us, Yawa the motion, and Yawa motion, and Yawa Dewa around the corner where they were singing Kane Yungure, Yawa Yungure, Yawa Karesmi, Yawa the most one. All the Yawa most one, Yawa the Nami, do well. Yeah, the land that just around Yala, who is restless.
For virtues, as was the case for non-virtues, which we seek to identify, to avoid and eliminate, we identify virtues and must identify virtues when we understand what is a virtue. Then we know too that it is a virtue because contentment results from it. We all have in common a wish for contentment. Therefore, we have a wish to engage in virtue, as it is the cause for achieving the result that is contentment, which is just what we wish for.
Oh, yeah, that's another Chidan that is on the Jesu Yama Yalaxin. Jesu Yama Yalaxin, Chidan, Yamedi hasn't said, oh, Chanjusan was always Maya, Yamedi Chadi.
Thus we arrive at rejoicing, the 7-branch limb of rejoicing, which is a practice of the most adept, the Bodhisattva's practice rejoicing.
유니 그선 고수나 냠네 떼스 매나 아니 안다데 제스피라는 냠네 떼스 플로라 야 가보 아니 용 가보 요레스 이들레 이마 있나 양 제스피라는 냠네 생에디 냠네 하장 유치모 냠네 베 랍치모 베 냠네 투 유치모 랍치모 제야 깔레 까시 매바 제대로 되게 냠네 차비요레스
Generally speaking, for a person with little exposure to study and contemplation and meditation in the Dharma, rejoicing as a practice is difficult to picture, difficult to take in and comprehend. But rejoicing as a practice is, for the person who comprehends it, the most blessed sort of practice, the sort of practice condensing so much of the Dharma, a practice that is comparatively easy, that allows for avoidance of great hardship. This is the advantage of rejoicing.
예부 세계기 연대대다 예조 과다 제발라 인물 나와 손시들의 슈구요 아니네 이 슈구자 뭐 아니 프랑라 제수이라는 게 개와 토비요 말 다시 칠러 예부디 칠러도 너무 되는 칼라 마고요라 요들로기 아니 본적이 예부디 단계를 인물을 슈가 되게 대나시지 만들어 인물 슈야 뭐를 인물 슈들이 만들 예부 지원의 인물수가 노쇼 먼저 뭐는 제수이라는 제외이자 늘 개와 토비요 어디에 토바를 루기들 때문에 아니 제수이라는 요아디 근데 되게 예부 세계를 송화해서
That's it. Didn't go sell gel and 좀 된데라 and 셀라 다 숨기려마
좀 되지 과다서가 여러 예들을 과다서가 그림 그거 저거 그거로 와
아니 다 숨기려마
저거 다 숨들다 저거 열다 숨기로 저거 그거 저거 비디오는 거기 이 개발 실증 동거 맞다 이제 칠로 오버도 여러 로네니 하나로네니 거기 기본적으로 개발 총고 이 가르치는 좀 되게 저것이든 저랑 의부도 제수이랑 지교를 예부처럼 제수이랑 지교를 개발 도구 말해서 어디로 비디오를 해서
There is a historical account of rejoicing from the time of the Buddha. When the Buddha was in India, he was venerated by King Prasanajit, who for 3 months' time during the 3 summer months made extensive feast offerings to the Buddha and the Buddha's retinue of Shravakas and Arhats and the rest. King Prasanajit made these offerings, and at the perimeter on the boundary of the gathering, there were all of the destitute and the beggars who too arrived to venerate the Buddha. And they thought of the king venerating the Buddha, that there was much to rejoice in the king, and they rejoiced in the king's veneration of the Buddha. And in so doing, they accumulated the virtue of venerating the Buddha. But then the Buddha said to King Prasanajit, "You have failed to rejoice in the virtues of all those here, whereas the beggars are rejoicing in your virtuous action. You are not engaging in the practice of rejoicing."
어디서 불안하다. 예시 나고 예시 경고라는 최세 그거에 불안 나와서.
And King Prasenajit asked the Buddha, Bhagavan, I'm unable to sacrifice my kingdom. I must continue as ruler of this kingdom, but I wish to practice the Dharma. What ought I do? The Bhagavan replied, you must rejoice. And in this way, should you rejoice in your own virtue and the virtues of others, and complement this too with meditations on bodhicitta, you may practice while at the same time continuing your reign.
일단 기본은 나는 맞아요. 나는 나와서 지금 때문에 최고로 해서. So
this was the Buddha's advice to King Prasenajit, and we may too take this as our own advice.
먼저 제가 규칙과 당선은 밀레 당선 수수를 당마토가 강해지 아니 세나게 아니 세나게도 집어대 집어야 오마차 강해요. 아니 연치고 당해야 강해 롱주 당고를 그다음 맞을 당해 공부해요 말어. 뭐 메르는 당선 탑시 야고 가르나 제수랑 제바이나 아니 다 배치고 제대로 이 공부도 시작하나씩 차단이 되어서
We know our hardships when we make offerings and practice generosity, that we find it difficult to part with what we give. We are covetous and jealous during giving. When what is asked of us is sacrifice of body, of our roots of virtue, of all our resources, we find ourselves incapable of this, for we have no familiarity and no accustomedness to such generosity. Then what remains for us to do, an easy approach, is to simply rejoice, ever rejoice as a means for accumulating virtue. Or you can stay in your home comfortably, dress just as you wish, and from there rejoice in virtue where it's occurred. It doesn't take much effort. So if you were to do it, you can see how it would be comparatively easy. And so then if you were to make a particular effort in that, you can see the benefit. I'm just being playful now as I describe rejoicing, as it is a virtue. It is a virtue, and it is a very blessed virtue, for it is comparatively effortless. But if you were to make an effort in it, imagine the results. Jetsongkhapa said, minor the effort, tremendous the reward of the practice of rejoicing.
The
chesa. Then in rejoicing, what is the object in which one rejoices? Understand that the two objects are one's own virtues and the virtues of others.
뭐 정도 다니 먼저 좀 변한 이거에 이거 유의전에 그 여자시나 때문에 유의되고 되게 제부 루마 예수 믿어봐겠다 망부시에 맞는 시다 개와들라야 또다 먼저 대시야는 변한다 거기 뒷문매봐 아니 대자면 세상 마차봐서 아니 그 신앙매 봐서 아니 뒷문매봐 어디서 가면 여와나 저거에서
Then in one's own virtues, just as one familiarizes oneself with non-virtue, one familiarizes themselves with virtue. We counted out enumerated non-virtues in many ways, including how they are non-virtuous by nature, etc. Likewise, one may identify virtue, identifying virtue as the alternative to non-virtue, when non-virtue is caused by the kleshas, the mental afflictions of desirous attachment and aversion and ignorance. As causes, these klesha result in actions of body, speech, and mind that are non-virtuous. So then in the main, the alternative to the causes that are causes for non-virtue are the causes for virtue. They are then the opposites of desirous attachment, that is detachment, the opposite of aversion, non-aversion, and the opposite of ignorance, awareness.
일단 먼저 감각 제수계란 치고를 또 가르치는 제수계란 체는 평균적으로 먼저 차도 공기 체계다 차도 공사를 내도 차도 공기 체계다 리과 가리나 어디게 아야 또 인부디 제수계란 사기가 해서
Of the klesha of jealousy, it finds in rejoicing its antidote.
먼저 미국 제 생기다 생활 먼저 차도 제 생기 지금 제발이네 그 지금 제가 그 보내만 하면 매일 미국 제발은 막아서 차도 제 제대로 어디다 먼저 근데 네번 뭐지 거기 제 맞추고 치고 재단 재수이란테야 또 차도리가 님부도 자기가 해서
We see others do things and grow jealous, and we contest it and say they didn't do this, and it's not real what they've done, and we dislike what others do, and we grow jealous of what others do, which prevents us from engaging in any virtue ourselves. This state of affairs has its antidote in rejoicing.
세상에 재수이란 제디 편시한데 요즘 먼저 또 단도 빼지나 시에 윤행 장시로 빼나 장가 라운드 가지고 어디 또 보면 멤버도 지배이나 그 지와 지조라 재수이란 체나 그걸 다찍 많아 이규 또 여가 더야 랑 또 가지고 재수이란 체다랑 또 번냐바이나 아니 랑 찍고 더야 나 가지고 또 토고들 이바이나 아니 랑 또 같은 데 강남하던데 제가 더야 어디든 그냥 순간 해서
这种马出国境内是吧？你是个到不来讨厌呢？对了，你就是有人呢，对你说是你得切个层，啊，切个层，
我的年不能吃，
了，
教育这个导游你他读了吧？
Describing benefits and advantages of rejoicing, texts do so, describing the benefits in terms of the qualities of the person in whom one rejoices. When one rejoices in a person of less realization, one accumulates for oneself twice the virtue that the other has achieved. when one rejoices in another of equal realization, one shares in the equal share of the virtue. And when one rejoices in another of superior realization, one achieves half that share of virtue. So you see, the benefits of rejoicing are in the textual tradition described in terms of the qualities of the person in whom one rejoices. For instance, you yourself, not a bodhisattva, rejoices in another who is a bodhisattva. Now, the bodhisattvas have in their roots of virtue occurring in only one day, an amount of virtue, a magnitude of virtue that an ordinary person in an entire lifetime of virtue isn't even able to accumulate the most trivial share of. 제가 말해. 자, 걔한테 나오지 말아봐. 제가 있나?
제가 말할게. 전주세 버스가 하던 친구로 왔다. 지난번 한 내일 하나 도와주지. 나서 전주세 백이 계속 세요 말아.
Then should one rejoice in the virtues of a bodhisattva? The bodhisattva whose virtues are of an imaginable magnitude, where we generally say if you rejoice in a person of superior qualities, you achieve half their share. Here, the bodhisattva's virtues are of a magnitude that is unimaginable. So it's not half that you achieve. You would be content to achieve 10%, or 10% of this virtue of such magnitude is a tremendous share. There are many explanations of the advantage of rejoicing. They're found too in the Bodhicharya Avatar, the way of the Bodhisattva, where their presentation is very extensive. So this will come later. So for example, here in the virtues of another may be rejoiced in. Among virtues too, one may rejoice in their own virtue. Both are forms of rejoicing. In one's own virtue, one rejoices in virtues of the past, virtues occurring presently, and virtues to come. And in just the same way, one may rejoice in the virtues of others. These are the benefits of rejoicing. if they are understood, then they will urge a person, and insofar as they're recalled by the person, on to greater virtues.
근데 땅아라도 배는 제수이랑 수술 라기 룰을 수 삼았다는 제수이랑 제기나야 당연한 메뉴 토바 메뉴 토야 돼 온보 창화다 아니 지금 수 상화 랑게 나라 롱제다 되저 직신의 때문에 무슨 소리 얘가 되주가가 아니 겨워마게 아니 겨워체를 제부 이발을 제수이랑 제가 해서
Rejoicing when one takes stock of one's own body may occur, for one recognizes in their own body, which is a precious human rebirth in full health, with full faculties, self-reliant, with its own resources, the very result of virtues of the past.
Yes, I'm just on about this cell 당기는 안하고 밀리터 바디 스트링스는 저거 차대요. 단단 안하고 세던 그 거기서 뭐 마공을 그러는 대가 큰 제에 바디 집었다 저거를. 근데 라는 온보 상화다, 소 상화다. 아니 가도 레바도 저거가 저거를 저거 차대요. 제가 저마다 되게 스트링스 집었다 저거를 저거 이선을 가고 그래서
Vivify this by thinking about it in this way, that your precious human rebirth is the result of your ethical discipline. All of the clothes and resources you have at your disposal that allows you your every wish, this is the result of your generosity. That you have full possession of your faculties, are in good health, are handsome, these are the results of your patience. In these, the precious body and its characteristics, we find the results of virtue, and these we may rejoice in.
근데 땅 안도 겨우mom하게 내가 그래서 야고체도 누구체도 따서더디 근데 류들을 따오로 류들을 그난 류들을 따오랬어 이 말에는 뭐 가다면서 가서는 마음에 말 세모만 좀 깨워를 밀루를 붙인되기 아니 단에 밀루를 이제 짜신 것이지 아니 될라야랑 세들 농조 통과해봐 아니 라마 라마 이어봐 배수상 제가 그때 가는데 아니 세모만 되고 있다 단에 밀루를 마음에 밀루 짜신 것들이 단에 밀루를 붙인데 대종 단에 밀루를 붙인데 가르쳐 버렸으나 심한테양 양은 사마 주어 아주 밀루이다 하는 미 보관 토비야 예바디 아니 단대 밀루디 소어에서 어떤 거에서
아니 밀루를 붙이디 토바디 아니
저
개원 몸에게 밀루를 붙이 토베 아니 양양 토바
토비
토베 뭐다
몸에 밀루디
나나
야부체를 제고
나나 to see how one acted in the past, one may look to their present body to find what one did in the past. One may look to their present body. And so the Kadamba adepts would say, the present precious human rebirth is the very evidence of having one in the past a precious human rebirth that was used responsibly and secured again this very life's precious human rebirth. Now, to secure all over again ever increasing fortune of rebirth as a human being or as a god, this precious human rebirth that is the result of the past precious human rebirth, well used, should not be squandered and used responsibly to secure that fortune of rebirth as a human being or as a heavenly being.
나 치마 라는 대화 되기 여바다 하는 미 고관 토부기 여나 아니 가르쳐 버려서는 제 몸하게 야고 쳐가지고 제 되기자 아니 주수 단계 선거 당당
So then, when one wishes for fortune in the future and understands that one's present fortune resulted from one's past activities, then what one did in the past that resulted in this present fortune should be replicated now in responsible use of the present human rebirth so that one experiences good fortune again, and so one thinks accordingly, behaves accordingly. So in short, to know what you did in the past, look to your present body. To know where you are going, look to your present mind. And there we will conclude the class. Where one's mental action has not been constructive, it has led one to discontents. Where the mind's actions are constructive, they will lead to contentment. And we'll conclude there. So then today, we've said where there are non-virtues, identify the non-virtues and confess and eliminate the non-virtue. Where there are virtues, identify those virtues and increase them through rejoicing. Then practice in just this way. Now, if there are any questions at this time, if anything is unclear, we can use the Q&A and even debate any point. Oh yeah, let's hear it.
Thank you, Shiva. Shiva, I was wondering if you can explain more the non-virtue of wrong view. And so there's several parts to the question. So, understanding wrong view more thoroughly, and also the second part of the question is, where does something like complacency fall in context, like if you see someone, so I understand all about the non-virtues, but what if there's something bad that's happening, or say, for example, in politics and in the media, there's a lot of things, information being manipulated, and instead of taking a stance or saying, okay, this is the correct, or this is the way that there will be less harm to people, you just say, okay, I'm not going to see anything. So like that kind of, I don't know if that's complacency or just saying, well, I'm not going to have an opinion, but in not making some sort of corrective action, then more harm comes. So I guess what would be the correct or virtuous thing to do in those kinds of situations? I think it's very nuanced and complicated, but it happens on a daily basis, and I think with all the information you're fed in the media, but I think this is something which personally I face every day. So the debate of like, okay, should I intervene or should I just not say anything and let them have some sort of not so good opinion and when it comes to voting, etc. Do you vote for somebody who may be harmful for our country? That's my question.
Oh yeah, then la then just like ni lokta yorwa ni simgi mi gewade simgi mi gewade lokta ni bache che ra ane habden di 그래서 아니 미디어에 람가 주요와 아니 심기 레가를 요래서나디 아니 lokta yor lokta 직접 lokta데 아니 갑든 게 계지 직 세바이나 시드응이 돌아 산겨 라 가레 텐요메 대강마 세바이나 미카시기 설자 lokpa 땅 요로와 아니 사르겨 가레 주마디 겨로 땅네 아니 주마든지 세기 요로와 아니 맞아기 사르겨 이제 따뜻 잡발라 강라바데 텔렌체네 아니 딱지 마체네 켈렌체나 맞아기 아니 네츠디 야르게 땅 특이요 말와 아니 베나 맞아 니 치워디기 동다 소 가라레라나 사르겨 람나 아래 좀한테 켈레네 따지마지네 켈레나 맞아 그 대화 간다스 쪽도요 대니 치워디 아니 욕생 첨부 임바디 하고요 베나데 사르겨 아니 람델라 네 담은다니 랍데요레 아니 미기 아니 따지마지네 켈레네로 아니 디네 미셀라 강에 첨부 던데 되게도 아니 강 거와디 켈레네 아니 레고 던데 펠고기 요메 도파사기도 아니 페나 로슈 루이로와 술라 로슈 루고 요메 라소베 델라 도난 아니 망루 체고 요메 이 도파사기도
lokta 생에 좀 다다 대시 자서도 가르스는 레이군데다 레이군데를 돌아 삼무당어레스 레이군데를 돌아 삼무당네 아니 레이군데 매버 따와이나 로버 따와 다 딜레 트레네 아니 지금 군조 매버 따와다 대시 매버 따와 딜레 빼잖아 잘 못돼 잘 요레 그래서 lokta 대시 자서 못 대시 자서 어떻게 해야지 이래서 다들 이번에 다나마도 난 지도 나는 내주디 아니 단단한 제시기를 오다다 찍고 차냐 자기 얘기 말했었네 저기도 직초지는 지도보다 나를 저니네 아니 수수기 제바치다다 아니 수수기 뭐 세계 또좀 세제 가서 유배토는 뭐밑 세제 체 저기 대신 망하게 세제 중앙에 제 용화제로 이나야 이들을 lokta를 다 커두라 네 시계 두 말씀 드리고 되시는
wrong view is described in texts as related to rejection of karmic causality, rejection of the three perfect refuges, rejection of the four truths of the noble ones. This is, narrowly speaking, wrong view as it is understood. To think of it from the standpoint of human society and what happens there, I don't think that you find a neat alignment of wrong view with occurrences in society at large, where there's the range of response to events in society that depends upon whether a person examines events or not, depends upon one's educational background, and then a response or an opinion of an event will be more or less informed, but it's being more or less informed or whatnot does not fall neatly into a paradigm of wrong view.
제가 간다 lokpa se yasagi lokpa kabde doso jwa dela kar yang ka tawas yang ka tawas esa yang ka tawas ne ta jinegi nilu xianba mong ba xin da或者梦的中医的了老吧这些叫不应的就是吧那这现在咱们都制作给他们用的当制作给这个他们我记这个的内容的梦话当这个你就可以差不多的参与吧吧现在老的空没真的你什么当时压了也是这个都是
Wrong view is contrasted with correct view. Correct view is the understanding of the subsisting nature of phenomena, the nature of phenomena as it is. Anything that clouds that understanding or misleads a person to misunderstand phenomena as they are is understood to be wrong view. Now, in human society, regarding what happens in human societies, these events do not really, to my mind, fall under wrong view, for they are not instances of misunderstanding phenomena as they are.
那么这个小头在稍微没得常规有的有嘛的，没得切图个的切图嘛的，那没得看到个牙个切个，嘛就多个切个，但第颜色他们多了吧？现在嘛都这个过，今天过了也算嘛切出来了，等我一到那家还得给嘛，我说。
For instance, among candidates for presidency, when we say this one is apparently honest, this one is apparently dishonest, this one seems competent and able, this one does not. As a whole, this party is better, this party is worse. These have to do with just that and no more. It is not an evaluation of whether such a person is leading us to the hell realms or interfering with our penetrating insight into emptiness. So I think perhaps that addresses your question, and if there are others.
Yeah.
My question is about newborn children. That in the West, we have a view that the newborn child is innocent, a tabula rasa. So even when a child is born with birth defects, genetic disease, something that happens within the mother's womb during gestation, we still view the child as innocent. Yet, it seems that the presentation of, if you want to know where you've been in your past lives, look to your body, is inconsistent with the Western view of a child as innocent.
Chokpe tawa shir shanero and Hugu sardu kepati, Hugu majar di Kene Dipatian mebe kebu Yinshasha chigre. Tani Pugu di Wambo Kyungin Dabo Jungnandra Na Chocho Dendre Jungnandra and the Drumla did it Zambala, Dendre, Gyan Shorkin, Dendre Yenandra, Kebudi, and a Dekwa Sakin, Mayim Shat Chede, Maso Nuk Chopat in Sugi. But did on Nambe Patsudi, Hungimandwa. Kainsin the Kadambagi, Kibu Dampatinzagi, Kavar Yume, Mungi Kewa de la Karachi Yume, so Kewa Digi, Lulata, Seri Digi, and turned up, Nupchoki Tawadi Tungimandwa.
Oh, that is very under mini Miktaman, that's middle star, or Simalo, Tawagi. Nenga Hola, Mitiba, the younger Marson Tringitus. This is
Now, this is two viewpoints on the matter, but it doesn't change the fundamental point, to my mind.
Oh, I Chili. Over Chili Lava Gurua, Manzo Tuat Chilen Chilior. Chili the Manzo number to shake a do. Les Samboyena, they would devour to lay never to me to release them to the Chicago. Dig itself with shade a chili to just to the Chicago. Kerangi, Dangi Chumati, and he can review the Chila, Gangi Chumaras, and the poor Gangi Chuman, Chuma, the Chicago. It is Chicago. In a Gangi Chuman, which Sada, Yankee, that is Chicago is without was.
I see it this way because the Western scientific community, in their discussion of the cause of chronic disease and the rest, and the Buddhist community's explanation of virtue leading to contentment, non-virtue leading to discontents, fundamentally resemble each other. For science, the scientific community will attribute any given deformity, disability to, in part, hereditary causes. They will look for an explanation that is an event occurring in the past, no differently from the way that the Buddhists will do just the same.
Oh, that is not the shit. I can't do the but in an is that Penama Michigis, somebody with your road, data, unit, it's got only Michigi, and in Michigi, Tomanchik. And that is Sungal, Matani Michigi, Michig Tomanchik, Tomani or Tita Uchi or S.
Like is the younger and going to chick some guys and got this to me. And chick and you get the one that
wants to come back when the combat do combatina, dying combat dune carto, and they'll come with now carto, chilla carto, Sunga Tong the Michigi, combat Jessica, you go out. And combat such a thing, but the mother and combat Jessica, you would ask. Or teacher, oh, some tongues. And then I do that in joke on the some tongue. Your mamma the chimney, Jereto, who some with tongue your mass. And Nambegi, your theater, your mamma did Java, the eagle, into eagle, Java you listen, and this is Jaguars. Jerusalem, Anzu, who would be less of Marete, who would be Mama John, the Yonigi, Mama John, Mama Tigi, less of a tribute, Pasha for your one. I said, T. Wongi for the leg.
And then I will really begin my response to your question here. I recommend that you look at such a puzzle in this way. In this building, there are people inside seeing the interior. There will be a person outside too, seeing the exterior from the front. There will be someone seeing the exterior too from behind the monastery. And there's a person too who's seen interior, exterior front and exterior back, and knows all three. Now in the West, in the Western scientific community, there's no consideration given to past lives of an individual and subsequent lives of the individual. Sole consideration is given to the present individual. The Buddhist outlook incorporates consideration of past lives of a person, subsequent lives of a person, and the reciprocal relationship between them based upon consideration of them in the present life. And so a Western scientist looks to a newborn and finds one who hasn't engaged in any negativity by the standards of evaluating a present life, while in fact there are karmic latencies determining experiences to come for the individual.
这个他们这些点名的，他们这些点考过几个，叫起码是了呢，百年考过，这些都是叫考过，叫我们是了呢，我百忙过有的，安尼什么当时忙过有的，安尼我这话念掉，我就对于这些有的这些来说。
From the standpoint even of the Buddha Dharma, consideration given to subsequent lives is elusive too. Whereas it is easy for us to incorporate impressions of past lives and its determining influence. There are ready accounts and examples, explanations of how the connection may be made. But even from the standpoint of the Dharma, subsequent lives in their explanation and ready examples are elusive. In the philosophy of the Dharma, in the metaphysics of the Dharma, there's a class of phenomena that is slightly hidden to us. And logical arguments argument is the means for discovering truths regarding it. They are where a state of affairs is amenable to logical proof, logical demonstration. Here's the reason. It follows such and that, such and such. Reason is sufficient to understand, comprehend slightly hidden phenomena. But karmic causality is a very hidden phenomena to us. For instance, in the array of colors in the tail of the peacock, with its iridescent blue and purples and indigos, that each color has its cause, and that they are all contained in the plumage of the peacock. How it happens that they are just so is nearly impenetrable and cannot be demonstrated in every part through logical demonstration. Such karmic causality is known to us through scripture alone. The details of gestation, wherein an embryo develops all of its nervous system, develops the nervous system to the point where there's sensation experienced, and the rest, that progression, causal progression, is an example of phenomena in its details that is very hidden to us. Now, in every detail of the shape of every given seed and the sweetness of any given berry, and all such details in their causal nature is more impenetrable than emptiness itself. So in short, of this child, they are not at their birth a tabula rasa with no preceding karmic latencies that are determining experiences to come. Rather, these latencies are present. They are present and will ripen or manifest in the aforementioned ripening of results, fully ripened result, and the rest. So this is what one ought to comprehend here.
맞추기 내가 오늘 제대로 예치와 있는 거 다들 지인의 예치와 있는 거 제마 제대 예치기 있는 거 뭐라 말아 어디는 힘 빼지 않으더니 something
And if you were to all over again ask your question and were to do so thinking of the self-referential pronoun I and how you use it, and that you say with it, I come from there and I am presently here and I will go there, and that the actions in the past of yours and your present actions and your rather future actions, that these are connected in your use of I and attributing past action to your present action, to your future action. This may be for you an example that illuminates just this sequence of past, present, and future life. Did the answer come close to addressing your question?
Yes, thank you.
Just so then again, I came, I'm here, I will go. No differently was there the past life connected to the present self and the future life to come. By contemplating this I and its use, you may understand the issue. And we will conclude here with our closing prayers. In the presentation of confession and rejoicing, these branches of the 7-branch offering, these dharmas that we have contemplated, in instruction in them and in listening to them, are virtuous. And so the virtues may be dedicated to contentment and well-being for oneself. In the world at large, a place with famine and drought and war, to the pacification and the ending of all of these things. And so too to all sentient beings' eventual increased fortune and contentment and eventual enlightenment. That this virtue may become cause for sentient beings' eventual attainment of the state of awakening. The intention at the beginning is for one's practice to become cause for the awakening of all sentient beings. This is the intention in the beginning. Then the actual practice in the middle is to engage in and instruct in the Dharma. And then in conclusion, the virtue of instruction and listening in the Dharma is to dedicate the virtue to the experience of the result for all sentient beings, the result being the state of awakening. From my two collections, vast the space that I have amassed, from working with effort at this practice for a great length of time, may I become the chief leading Buddha for all those whose mind's wisdom eye is blinded by ignorance. Even if I do not reach this state, may I be held in your loving compassion for all my lives, my wishes. May I find the best of the paths of the complete teachings, and may I please all the Buddhas by practicing, using skillful means drawn by the strong force of compassion. May I clear the darkness from the minds of all beings, at the points of the path as I have discerned them. May I uphold Buddha's teaching for a very long time, with my heart going out with great compassion, in whatever direction the most precious teachings have not yet spread, once spread heavily along. May I offer this treasure of happiness to aid all sentient beings. May the minds of those who wish for liberation be granted bounteous peace, and the Buddha's deeds be nourished for a long time by the following and the wondrous virtuous conduct of the Buddhas and their son. May all human and non-human beings have eliminated adversity and make things conducive to practicing excellence. Never be parted in any of their lives from the purest path created by the Buddhas. Whenever someone makes effort to act in accordance with tenfold Mahayana virtuous practices, may he always be assisted by the mighty ones, and may oceans of prosperity spread everywhere. Dedicate whatever virtues I have ever collected for the benefit of the teachings and of sentient beings, and in particular for the essential teachings of their in the land encircled by snowy mountains, you are the source of all happiness and good. All powerful sinners, anything else, please remain so cyclic consistent. This is that the great Manjushri and Samatha realize things as they are. Also, I dedicate all these merits in the best way that I may follow their perfect example. And dedicate all the fruits of virtue, the dedication praised at the best, by the victorious Susgan one of the 3 times, so that I may perform the noble duties of his deeds. May the supreme jewel of the Chief that has not arisen, rise and grow. May that which has arisen not diminish, but increase more and more.
尤其是前这个对这个对于全
Oh, thank you, and outside, if there's tea and lunch, then, and you have time, then you may enjoy that together.